Pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems.
Another very lovely evening to all of you, my friends. I'm ever so thankful, as always, that you all could join me. This is a bit of a special study tonight. You've probably heard about this great reset that is they're trying to push through. They'll say that it's a conspiracy theory. I Googled this and looking it up, Google, Facebook, it's a conspiracy theory. Well, they lie about everything else. Isn't that amazing how the most powerful companies in the world are liars? The media, liars, all lies everywhere. Well, we're clearly told how Satan is the god of this world and he's the father of lies. That's further proof of Satan. You don't really need much digging to do in order to figure out that there is a literal devil. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about this great reset that the World Economic Forum is pushing. This is from their website. There is an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate. You get that? Urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis. To improve the state of the world, the World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. Doesn't sound like a conspiracy theory to me. The Great Reset is a proposal by the World Economic Forum to rebuild the economy sustainably following the COVID-19 pandemic. Catch that. The World Economic Forum is calling for a great reset of all economies and making a global economy. World Economic Forum, that strikes me. Surely it does you too. In the Bible, we're told about this mark of the beast and how no man will be able to buy or sell, Revelation 13, without having this mark upon him. There's speculation about what that mark is. Is it a chip? Is it whatever? But what I would like to point out is how it's economically grounded. Its foundation, the mark of the beast foundation, is built upon an economic state, if you will. You can't buy or sell without having this mark. It's very important for this little study, and it will be a global thing. World Economic Forum. I believe that they will herald in this mark. Here's just a few articles of concern, and these are not hard to find. This was from this month, just a few days ago, as a matter of fact. John Kerry reveals Biden's devotion to radical Great Reset movement. Not such a conspiracy theory, really. Here's another headline from Breitbart. If you liked the New World Order, you'll love the Great Reset. John Kerry talks Great Reset. We're at the dawn of extremely exciting time. And no surprise here, Pope Francis really likes it. Pope Francis adopts Joe Biden's slogan, Build Back Better, talking about this Great Reset. Well, they just so happen to now have vaccines coming out for the COVID-19. Compulsory vaccine totalitarianism. Compulsory. No longer a crazy conspiracy theory. The article goes on to say the United Kingdom and every other country in the world now preparing to roll out its miracle vaccine cure is teetering on the brink of health totalitarianism. It is in danger of creating a two-tier system in which a persecuted underclass, including anyone who, for whatever reason, chooses not to take the vaccine, that would be me, is denied the freedoms of normal life. Now listen. Unable to book air tickets or even to go out to pubs and restaurants on board with the health passport scheme. This is a terrifying prospect, like something out of a dystopian science fiction novel. The people who've been warning this was coming for many months now have been dismissed by the mainstream media as crazed conspiracy theorists. It's starting to look like they may have been right all along, these crazed conspiracy theorists. Oh, now you just watch, it's coming. It's coming. If you haven't already noticed, people are starting to say, hey, wear your mask. You have to wear your mask in here. It's going to get to where you have to have your vaccine in here. You have to have it. If you don't have it, you'll be denied service. It'll be at Walmart. It'll be at Target, places, wherever that you go. It'll be all over the place. You're not allowed in our store unless you have the vaccine. We cannot buy or sell to you unless you have this vaccine. You just watch. And people want this vaccine like crazy. Now, there's a lot of people like us and whom do not want it. I'm not taking it. But there's a lot that are begging for it. Inject me now. Concert goers demand mandatory vaccination so they're allowed to see live music again. You will see it pushed. Joe Biden is the perfect puppet. He's already talking about mandatory mask, and he will push for this vaccine to be mandatory. Here's another article from the World Economic Forum. Now is the time for a great reset. And this is quite the terrifying quote from that article. The level of cooperation and ambition this implies is unprecedented. This great reset, but it is not some impossible dream. In fact, one silver lining of the pandemic is that it has shown how quickly we can make radical changes to our lifestyles. Almost instantly, the crisis forced businesses and individuals to abandon practices long claimed to be essential, from frequent air travel to working in an office. Oh, and don't forget they were shutting down churches as well. And you don't usually see a lot of crazed conspiracy theories on the cover of Time magazine. Now, you'll see a lot of other stupid things, but the media will usually back up Time. Now, here's from Time's own website. The Great Reset. The COVID-19 pandemic has provided a unique opportunity to think about the kind of future we want. Time partnered with the World Economic Forum to ask, of course they did, to ask leading thinkers to share ideas for how to transform the way we live and work. Listen to the language there. That's very forceful. To share ideas for how to transform the way we live and work, the way we live and work, the way we live. Really? Here's a Forbes article from just a few months ago, back in August, and it says the great Chinese money experiment is over, talking about doing away with cash, with paper money, and going digital. Now, this is actually from the article. China's thinking has been evolving for some time. Back in 2016, the governor of the People's Bank of China set out the bank's thinking about digital currency, saying that it is an irresistible trend that paper money will be replaced by new products and new technologies. He went on to say that as legal tender, digital currency should be controlled by the central bank. And after noting that he thought it would take a decade or so for digital currency to completely replace cash in China, he went to state clearly that the bank was working out how to gradually phase out paper money, end quote. And of course, it's from the central bank giving them all the control. These bankers are going to control the world. For the love of money is the root of all evil. Now, doesn't it sound like the Bible and what it prophesied thousands of years ago, and how the most evil men would control the world? George Soros, Rockefeller, Rothschilds, all these, the most evil people in the whole world would run the world, and out of them would come a more evil man than any. Well, it's coming. And notice it says back in 2016, very important point right here. So they've been thinking about this since 2016. So we're coming up on 5 years since then. Now they go on to, and they're talking about how this could take a decade. So that's 5 years on in, back in 2016. Now add 10 years on to 2016. That's whenever they said it'd take a decade. That would be about, what, 2026, 2027, 2028? About exactly on the year that Christ was crucified, buried, and resurrected. 2028 will be around that year that they're predicting that this paper. Now, why am I mentioning that? Well, it's very important, and I can lay it out plainly. It seems as though God does something every 2,000 years that is just earth changing, and it's monumental and it's epic beyond anything else. Well, I can show very plainly from this chart. This is from Dr. Ken Hovind. Actually, I recommend him. Everyone go and check him out, Ken Hovind Official on YouTube. Very intelligent man. A lot to say on this subject, as a matter of fact. But anyway, from Adam to Abraham is pretty much right on the dot 2,000 years. And 2,000 years after Abraham is Christ. And it does seem as though the Lord works in 1,000-year increments. And if you look at the days of the week, it says a day is as 1,000 years unto the Lord. Well, in the Bible, it states how 6 days is the work to be done on the earth, like the harvest time, Christians, the gospel, the growing up of Israel, the flood. All this work has to be done, 1,000-year increments. And then on the 7th year, or the 7,000th year of the earth, then there's a rest, and Christ is called our rest. He's our Sabbath. It's going to be 2,000 years since his crucifixion. I'm telling you, something big is going to happen around 2028. I believe it'll be the rapture. But all of this is starting to set it up. Anyway, this article goes on to talk about how digital currency is coming, and China will take the lead in digital currency just as it did in paper currency. Watch and see if China doesn't play a key role in bringing in this one world government. But here's just a few quotes just to let you in on how these people think. The Secretary General of the United Nations, he said this: I am deeply convinced that there is no other way to deal with global challenges than with global responses. Global. And what did the Prince of Wales say? As we move from rescue to recovery, therefore, we have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. We must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play. They are pushing this like crazy. Why do you think this election fraud was just so vast, and why they wanted to get Trump out of there so badly? Here's another one of these globalists, Mark Benioff. He says capitalism, as we have known it, is dead. And who's the biggest capitalist in the world? Donald Trump. Got to get him out of the way before you can kill the economy. But now let's focus a little bit more on this guy right here, who's playing a very key role in bringing about this great reset. Klaus Schwab. He is the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. And he says the pandemic, COVID-19, represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. This man is the one in whom wrote a book recently, and it's entitled COVID-19, The Great Reset. Yeah, real conspiracy theory there. One of the quotes from the book is this: if no one power can enforce order, our world will suffer from a global order deficit. They're wanting this one power to rule over the whole world. That's Antichrist. He also said this: to achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies. Every country, from the United States to China, must participate, and every industry, from oil and gas to big to tech, must be transformed. Oh, and this guy says far more frightening things than that. I'm just getting started on him. He goes on and speaks about how he's all about these implantable microchips. He also makes clear that implantable microchips will be the cornerstone of a transhumanist agenda that will merge man with machines. And he wrote this: today's external devices, from wearable computers to virtual reality headsets, will almost certainly become implantable in our bodies and brains. So he's all about implanting a microchip in you. Ain't that something? Active implantable microchips that break the skin barrier of our bodies will change, and I quote, change how we interface with the world and force us to question what it means to be human, according to Schwab. And just like something out of 1984, George Orwell's 1984, he says, you'll own nothing under them, and you'll be happy about it. I'm now going to show this video from the World Economic Forum. This is a very powerful organization. And they released this video, and I was taken aback by its audacity. It's just so upfront. It's not even trying to blend it in with nice wording. 8 predictions for the world in 2030. Now, if that doesn't just a little bit concern you, then there's no reason why. But more likely, if you're watching my video, then you're a little bit woke up, if not a lot more woke up than me even. But that staggers me. But here's another article. Future of USA hangs in balance in Georgia. Now, if you're an American, pay close attention to what I'm about to say and what this article actually says. Here's the concern about what's about to happen in Georgia. I have heard so many alarmist statements made over the years, but this one, it may absolutely change our country and we'll never get it back. 2019 may have been the very last that we'll see. The article says this: if the Democrats win both runoff races on January 5th in Georgia, they will have a 50-seat plus tiebreaker Kamala Harris. So they'll have the majority in the Senate. If Senator Schumer does what he said he wants to do and Congress grants statehood to Puerto Rico and D.C., 4 additional senators would be added to the current body, all of whom would likely be Democrats, further shifting the balance of power to a formidable 54-50 Democrat majority. During a recent interview with Lester Holt of NBC, Joe Biden said, and I quote, "I will send an immigration bill to the United States Senate with a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people in America, all of whom would probably vote Democrat." Now, many of you are probably thinking that after this vaccine comes out, things will start getting back to normal. Dr. Doom, Fauci, he starts saying, well, in about a year, we may be able to start gathering. If everyone takes their vaccine and keeps their mask on, Financial Review. Klaus Schwab, once again, from World Economic Forum. When will things get back to normal? Never, says Davos founder. Schwab's quick fire book, The Great Reset, tries to imagine how we will live with COVID 19. It's equal parts forecast, manifesto, and warning. Now, just listen to what it says in this article. Brace yourselves, the article says. Schwab doesn't mince words at the outset. Many of us are pondering, he says, many of us are pondering when things will return to normal. The short response is never. The world as we knew it in the early months of 2020 is no more, he writes. Now, see, for the past few years, you can look at these kind of statements by these globalists because they've made these statements in the past, a lot of them very similar. But you could also fall back and say, well, we have a Senate majority, and, in the Republican and Donald Trump, he would never allow that. He's a nationalist, and he's patriotic. Now it looks like Donald Trump will not be there. Now, this also leads me into this point. Donald Trump started these peace agreements in the Middle East between the Jews and the Muslims. And the Bible speaks about how there'll be a man, he'll have this peace treaty in between Israel and their enemies. Well, Donald Trump kind of startled me whenever he started this, but it seems as though he's just kicking it off. And now that he's being just completely illegally put out of the White House, it looks like there's no more concern for that. Someone else will pick this up, this momentum. And I think that we all know who that someone will be. Here's the thing to watch for. Peace talks in the Middle East, then a one world government, then someone in the midst of this one world government system, United Nations, he'll come out of this group of people, and they'll make him the main guy over the world. He'll have power over everyone, and he'll enforce this mark. That's whenever things will start getting very strange. But peace talks with Israel is the thing to watch for first. Iran's top nuclear scientist recently killed in ambush. State media say U.S. and Israeli intelligence describe the scientist as the force behind what they call Iran's covert push for nuclear weapons. This has a lot to do with what's about to come up. I believe 2021 is going to be, I think it'll be the beginning of the Great Tribulation period, the last 7 years of the world. And I do believe that the rapture will happen. I'm post-trib, pre-wrath. And I do believe that the rapture will happen in around 2028. I could be wrong. And I think that things like this, these monumental events, like Iran's top nuclear scientist being assassinated, these things are just the beginning of something is around the corner. If you'll remember what Jesus says, and I really want to point this out, this is very important. And they asked Jesus, when would the end of the world be? Before he came back, raptured us, resurrected, and then took over his 1,000-year reign. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. Now I believe what he's meaning right here, all these are the beginning of sorrows. I believe that that's whenever the 7 years begins. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel, now listen right here, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. The proof that what Jesus is saying is true, meaning a witness, is that his gospel at the time very much unknown. Whenever he said this, no one hardly in the whole world, not even 1% of 1% of 1%, knew hit the gospel of Christ at that time. But he says, my gospel, that is virtually unknown at his time, shall be spread throughout the whole world and preached throughout the whole world as proof that all of these things will come to pass, and then shall the end come. Well, I just did a really quick Google search. I already knew the answer, but to show you all and to prove what Jesus said was true, proof, Business Insider, not a Christian publication, mind you, but they had an article, the 10 most read books in the world. And let me just tell you all, it's not even close. The article begins, the most read book in the world is the Bible, the Gospel of Christ. The Bible far outsold any other book with a whopping 3.9 billion copies sold over the last 50 years. That's just in the last 50 years. Matter of fact, here's a graphic from that article just to show you how much it almost doubles everything else. This gospel has been spread throughout the whole world as proof. I mean, nothing else even comes close. The Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Gone with the Wind, the Twilight Saga, the Da Vinci Code, none of these things even come close to the Bible. But my friends, I have great news. And we're going to end on it. Jesus also said this, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. It is very, very near. It's right on the horizon. That time that all of man since Adam has been looking for is nearer now than it has ever been. And it is right around the gate. Thank you all for joining me. Do not be concerned about these trials and tribulations. The way that the Bible reads, I believe that we're going to just have a few more years, and either way, we're out of here. God of peace be with you all. Amen.